Welcome to part 3 of this presentation. I hope that you had the opportunity to watch part 1 and part 2 already, and now we are on to part 3. Thank you for joining us. What you're looking at here is a crude version of DevSecOps pipeline diagram. It's not very well drawn, but I think it's visible what's on it. So let's go through some of these boxes, although they're pretty self-explanatory. First, let's take a look at the code commit and version control. As the name implies, developers commit code to a version control system like Git, and we have this CI/CD pipeline. Usually we're talking about a CI server like Jenkins, which automatically triggers a build process when changes are detected in the code repository. So if your repo is touched, it automatically triggers the build process all over again to make sure that everything builds okay. The integration points here that you may or may not have added to it are all these automation tools like the ones we talked about before, the static code analysis, then the dynamic code analysis, and several other kinds of tools that you may want to add to your pipeline. Tools like SonarQube, Covert and Fortified, and others can be integrated into the CI pipeline to perform static code analysis during the build. These tools check the code against predefined security standards and coding guidelines. Also, automated testing is part of it. Automated testing frameworks validate the code through unit tests, integration tests, and other types of tests to ensure functionality and security. These tests can check for vulnerabilities such as SQL injection, buffer overflows, and memory protection issues. So there are other kinds of security checks. Two of them, namely, the first one that I'd like to mention is with an acronym SAST, which stands for Static Application Security Testing, SAST. This is one of the security checks that could be integrated into the early stages of development to catch vulnerabilities before the code is deployed. There's another kind of test which has an acronym of DAST, which stands for Dynamic Application Security Testing, which is conducted in a staging environment to test the application in a running state. So, for deployment, code that passes all checks and tests is deployed to production environments using containerization and orchestration tools like Docker and Kubernetes. For monitoring and feedback, continuous monitoring of the deployed application using tools like Prometheus to gather metrics and logs. Feedback loops for developers to continuous improvement. For policy compliance and enforcement, we want to automate it, of course. Automation of policy environment implies that policies are encoded into the DevSecOps pipeline, the one that you're looking at right here. For example, if a specific coding standard requires input validation, tools and scripts to enforce this ought to be included in the CI/CD pipeline. For continuous improvement, we need to regularly update and refine security policies based on feedback and evolving threats. So to sum it all up, the benefits are obvious. Consistency and automated tools ensure that security checks are consistently applied, reducing variability and human error. Early detection is important. Issues are detected early in the development process, making them easier and less costly to fix. Continuous compliance ensures that all code adheres to security policies and standards before being deployed. Efficiency speeds up the development process by integrating security checks into the existing workflow. Therefore, by integrating all of these security checks and compliance tools into the DevSecOps pipeline, like the one you're looking at here, an organization can ensure that its coding standards are automatically enforced, leading to more secure and reliable software. Next, let's talk about a commonly used term, defense in depth. We talked a bit about this earlier. What exactly is defense in depth and how is it benefiting our security posture as a whole? Defense in depth, DID in short, is a security strategy that employs multiple layers of defense to protect information and systems. The concept is rather simple, actually. It is analogous to a multi-layered medieval castle, where each layer of defense adds on additional obstacle for potential attackers. In technical terms, defense in depth aims to provide comprehensive protection by addressing various attack vectors and mitigating risks through redundancy and diversity in security measures. I'm going to go through quickly on a few key principles of defense in depth. First is layered security. Multiple security controls are implemented at different layers of the IT infrastructure. If one layer is compromised, additional layers continue to provide protection. That's the idea. Redundancy. Overlapping security measures ensure that the failure of one control does not compromise the entire system. Diversity. Different types of security mechanisms are used to address a variety of threats. This reduces the risk of single point of failure. Segmentation. Network and system segmentation limit the spread of an attack, containing the damage within isolated segments. So for technical components of defense in depth, I listed 9 different items here. First one, parameter security. We put in firewalls to control incoming and outgoing network traffic based on predetermined security rules. We put in IDS and IPS. This has been around for a long time. IDS stands for Intrusion Detection Systems. IPS stands for Intrusion Prevention Systems. They are for monitoring network traffic for suspicious activity and potential threats. Network security, VPNs. VPNs are used everywhere for quite some time. They are used to secure remote access to the network by encrypting data transmissions. Network segmentation, we just talked a little bit about that. This divides the network into smaller isolated segments to limit access and reduce the attack surface. Endpoint security. These days, there are all sorts of endpoints. Your laptop is an endpoint, your mobile phones and all the IoT devices are endpoints. They need to have antivirus and anti-malware software installed in them to protect individual devices from malicious software. There's something called the EDR, which stands for Endpoint Detection and Response, which provides continuous monitoring and response to advanced threats on endpoints. These are little daemon kind of software that's installed on your endpoint for continuous monitoring. Application security, number 4. That entails secure coding practices to ensure software is developed with security in mind, reducing vulnerabilities. Web application firewalls, WAFs, WAFs, to protect web applications by filtering and monitoring HTTP traffic. Data security. Encryption protects sensitive data in transit and at rest by making it unreadable to unauthorized users. DLP, data loss prevention. DLP monitors and protects data from unauthorized access or transfer. Number 6, identify and access management, IAM in short. That refers to MFA, which we use a lot, multi-factor authentication, which requires multiple forms of verification before granting access. Role-based access control, RBAC, restricts access based on the user's role within the organization. Number 7, physical security is also very important. Access control systems manage and monitor physical access to facilities and sensitive areas. You do not want people to wander into your facility and commit theft that way. So you need surveillance systems to use cameras and sensors to detect and deter unauthorized physical access. You need policies and procedures that are clearly defining what you want to happen in your organization. So there are security policies which define organizational guidelines and practices for maintaining security across the board. You need incident response plans, which outline procedures for responding to security incidents and breaches. For monitoring and auditing, Security Information and Event Management, SIEM, SIEM in short, is required. It collects and analyzes security data from various sources to detect and respond to threats. You need regular audits and penetration testing for assessing the effectiveness of all of your security controls and identify vulnerabilities. So what are the benefits of defense in depth, if not already quite obvious after we've gone through the components in the previous slide? Well, it provides us with comprehensive protection of your systems and networks, which addresses a wide range of threats and vulnerabilities across different layers. Resilience, it gives you resilience to enhance the ability to withstand and recover from attacks through redundancy and diversity. Risk mitigation reduces the likelihood of a successful attack by complicating the attack process. Damage containment, it limits the impact of a breach by isolating compromised segments and protecting critical assets. So, in a nutshell, Defense in Depth is a robust and strategic approach to cybersecurity that employs multiple layers of protection to safeguard information and systems. By integrating diverse and redundant security measures across the IT infrastructure, organizations can better defend against, detect, and respond to a wide range of threats, thereby enhancing their overall security posture. Next, I'd like to talk a bit about LDAP and AD, two technologies that have been around for a long time, perhaps decades, but they have their place in our systems and networks still today. So let's get right into it. Microsoft has continued to update and enhance its LDAP. LDAP stands for Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, and AD, Active Directory, services over the years. Let's take a look at the most recent development and updates. They're still very much in use and very relevant. Active Directory, AD. Active Directory is a directory service developed by Microsoft for Windows domain networks. It has evolved to include several components and services. Now, I have this here because it could be confusing to some people with all these acronyms, and you'll see why if you are not familiar with it already. So for Active Directory, there are a couple of variants underneath it. One is Active Directory Domain Services, ADDS. The latest version of ADDS was developed for Windows 2022. The latest version of Windows Server includes updates to ADDS such as enhanced security features, better performance, and more robust disaster recovery options. The second variation is called Azure Active Directory, Azure AD. Azure AD is a cloud-based identity and access management service that complements on-premises ADDS, the one we just talked about. It provides single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and conditional access to secure user access to applications and data. The third one, hybrid identity, did I list it here? Hybrid identity is a modern deployment, often used a hybrid identity approach, integrating on-premises ADDS with Azure AD to provide seamless identity management across on-premises and cloud environments. So these are the three different variations under Active Directory. They have different purposes, but they're under the AD umbrella. Now let's take a look at LDAP. LDAP itself is a protocol. This is not proprietary for Microsoft. It's a protocol. It's not specific to Microsoft. However, Microsoft implements LDAP protocol in its Active Directory and other directory services. Here are some of the recent updates. LDAP-S, which stands for LDAP over SSL TLS. Microsoft has been emphasizing the importance of securing LDAP traffic. LDAP-S is LDAP over SSL, secure socket layer, and TLS, traffic layer security, which encrypts the data transmitted between the client and the server. The plain LDAP is being deprecated or has been deprecated. So Microsoft has been pushing for the deprecation for plain LDAP, which is the unencrypted LDAP, in favor of LDAP-S for quite some time to enhance security. So in newer Windows Server versions, the default configurations and security baselines favor the use of LDAP-S. There are enhanced security features for LDAP-S. One is LDAP channel binding and channel signing. I'm not going to get into them too much here. You can look it up, Google them, and you can easily find more information. But Microsoft has implemented new security features to enforce LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing. The terms are self-explanatory as well, which provide additional security for LDAP communications. It also improves the performance. With each iteration of Windows Server, Microsoft has improved the performance of its directory services, ensuring faster query responses and better scalability. So there are other key components and tools. Azure AD Connect. This is one of the tools that is worth mentioning. This tool facilitates synchronization between on-premises ADDS and Azure AD, allowing for hybrid identity scenarios where users can access both on-premises and cloud resources with a single identity. The second one is Azure AD Domain Services. Now you can see that their acronyms and names are quite similar, and sometimes it's a bit confusing. You don't know what each one does. That's why I listed them here, so that you at least have a bullet item list to refer to. So this AAD DS, Azure AD Domain Services, provides managed domain services such as domain join, group policy, and LDAP compatible with traditional ADDS, but hosted in the cloud, hosted in Azure. This allows organizations to move legacy applications to the cloud without rewriting them. The third one is called Microsoft Identity Manager, MIM. MIM helps manage user identities, credentials, and access rights across multiple systems, integrating with both on-premises ADDS and Azure AD. So these different acronyms, they refer to different things. Hopefully this can help you refer to them if you want to Google them and find more information about each of them. So I'd like to summarize and finalize the information on LDAP and AD. All of these, if you want to apply them to your applications in your organization, it most likely will apply to all of your systems and applications within an organization so that you have one list with all the users in them. That's one popular way to implement them. The policy itself would really address issues like authentication, authorization, user management, passwords, password policies, compliance, and auditing. And you integrate all of these together as a wholesome policy. If you want to map to NIST 853, it does quite seamlessly. So NIST is the National Institute of Standards. 800-53 includes this list here you're looking at, AC-2, IA-2, as it is listed here. AC-2 is for account management, IA-2 is for identification and authentication. So you can be rest assured that all of these items listed here under NIST 800-52, it maps quite nicely to LDAP and AD if you implement them. All right, the next two questions that some of you asked is, so what is multi-ID that I've been hearing quite a lot these days? Is it a replacement of LDAP and AD? And are LDAP and AD being phased out altogether? So the concept of Microsoft's multi-ID is an idea that aligns with the broader trend of multi-factor authentication, MFA, and multi-cloud identity. While multi-ID is not a formal product or service name used by Microsoft, this is the idea. It aligns with MFA and multi-cloud identity management. MFA is supported by Azure ADs for multi-factor authentication. It ensures user identities are verified using multiple methods, enhancing security. And multi-cloud identity management is, as we mentioned earlier, is supported by Azure AD and can integrate with multiple cloud services, providing a single identity platform for managing access across various environments. So that's why we're saying multi-ID aligns with both MFA and multi-cloud identity. Second question is LDAP and AD being phased out? The answer is no. LDAP is still widely used for directory services and remains relevant, especially in legacy systems and applications. You can't get rid of any old technologies easily. It takes a transition period, sometimes rather long. However, Microsoft is promoting more secure and modern protocols for new developments. So Active Directory AD, the on-premises AD, the ADDS, continues to be a critical infrastructure component for many organizations, particularly for managing local resources and legacy applications. Azure AD complements rather than replaces on-premises AD, offering a cloud-based identity solution that integrates with existing AD infrastructures. So again, Microsoft is not replacing LDAP and AD with a single new technology called multi-ID. Instead, Microsoft is evolving its identity and access management strategy through Azure AD, which integrates with traditional ADDS to provide a comprehensive hybrid identity solution. All right. Next is encryption. Encryption in use in flight and at rest data. So for encryption for data in use, it refers to information that is actively being processed by applications, stored in temporary memory, or manipulated by users. Why is this important? It is very important to protect, to encrypt data to protect against insider threats in specific. Encryption helps prevent unauthorized access by insiders who might have legitimate access to the systems but should not access certain data. It also helps to mitigate memory-based attacks. Techniques such as memory encryption can protect sensitive data from being exposed through memory dumps, cold boot attacks, or other forms of memory scraping. You want to secure multi-tenant environments. In environments like cloud computing where resources are shared, encryption can ensure that data remains secure even if the underlying hardware is compromised. I'll give you an example of how do you, what technology is helping you to encrypt data in use. This technology called Trusted Execution Environment, TEES in short, is a technology that have a multiple kind of implementations. One of it technologies like Intel SGX or ARM Trust Zone create secure enclaves where data is decrypted and processed in the hardware, ensuring that even if the operating system is compromised, the data remains secure. So this is one example of a technology that will help you to encrypt data in use. Trusted Execution Environments, TEES. Encryption for data in flight or data in transit refers to information that is being transmitted over a network, whether it is moving within a local network or across the internet. It is important to have this because you want to protect against eavesdropping. Encrypting data in transit prevents unauthorized parties from intercepting and reading the data as it moves between endpoints. You want to make sure that your data remains unchanged. Integrity assurance. Encryption protocols often include mechanisms to ensure data integrity, preventing tampering or alteration during transmission. Also, there are many regulatory requirements that you need to adhere to in order for your product to be sold, such as a lot of products, by default, they need to adhere to GDPR, HIPAA, or PCI-DSS. These regulations were mandated. They mandate encryption of sensitive data in transit to protect against breaches. If you're not certified for security that adheres to these protocols, your customers won't feel safe using your product. An example would be to use TLS, SSL to encrypt the data. TLS stands for Transport Layer Security, and its predecessor is called SSL, Secure Sockets Layer. These are protocols that encrypt data sent over the internet, ensuring secure communication between web browsers and servers. Encryption for data at rest refers to information that is stored on physical media such as hard drives, SSDs, databases, or backups. It is important to do this because you want to protect against physical theft. Encrypting data at rest ensures that even if physical storage devices are stolen or lost, the data remains unreadable without the decryption key. You also want to mitigate unauthorized access by providing encryption at this layer of security that protects data from unauthorized access, even if an attacker gains physical or logical access to the storage media. Again, many industry standards and regulations require encryption of sensitive data stored on disk to prevent unauthorized access and data breaches. And you need to adhere to those regulations. One technology to help you do this, as an example, is FDE, full disk encryption. Technologies such as BitLocker for Windows or File Vault for macOS encrypt the entire disk, protecting all data stored on the device from unauthorized access. So by implementing encryption for data in use, in flight, and at rest, organizations can provide a comprehensive security posture and protects sensitive information at all stages of its life cycle, thereby mitigating the risk of data breaches and ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. This concludes part 3 of this presentation. Please follow on to part 4 to complete this topic. Thank you for your attention.